Hey everybody, welcome back to Diva Dads, episode 8. We have a very special guest tonight. We are very excited. I don't even know what to say about her because she's so amazing. So we'll get to that in a minute. But first, how was everybody's week? Oh, there's a lot going on, I'm sure.
There's a lot going on.
I tell you, I'm a little sore. I don't know. There's something I did yesterday. I'm really sore.
Slept?
No. Okay, so
No.
we can get right into it. First off, this week in theater news, just a quick touch on. Make sure you go to our Instagram, the IGTV, to hear Tyler Lewis talk about the Antonio Awards,
Yes.
which is kind of an extension of, an answer to the Tonys having to be canceled, postponed, talking about Black Broadway. And it was so cool. I haven't finished it yet, but there's a lot of really insane performances there. So go check out Tyler's video and then go watch the Antonio Awards on YouTube. The other thing, and one of the reasons why Rodney is sore and why the four of us have had a very rough week, is our beloved home, the theater company. Our ceiling and roof has collapsed in multiple areas of the theater. It's not good. It's not good. I do have to say thank you to Madeline Wyrick. Out of the blue, this girl texts me needing to borrow a dress for a photo shoot. So Madeline Wyrick is the only reason why I happened to go to the theater yesterday, because otherwise, I would not have been back until we started kids camp, which is July 5th, 6th.
Yeah.
So literally by the grace of God and Madeline Wyrick's needs, we discovered ceiling tiles collapsed in all three theaters. So in all three theaters, major leaks, damage, and thank goodness for our theater family, because all I did was I just said help to our board and to the cast of the summer shows, and we were immediately answered with help and hands, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I walked up and down the stairs more than I ever want to do at one time. Again, because we were the fabric room. I'd never been in there, and it was amazing how much fabric is in there. And I know somebody lovingly put everything in there in color categories, and then we just threw it all in bins and carried it down and dumped it in a huge pile in the lobby. So yeah, sorry about that. We did the same thing with the graveyard, Dana. We just pushed everything out.
No,
just
you
a
didn't.
big-
I could not make it over there yesterday, and today I actually got called into work. So on my way back, was like, I'm just gonna stop in real quick, see if there's anything I can quick do. And it was like that slow dirge going through my head as I was walking through. And of course, the first place I went to was the graveyard. But amazingly enough, it's pretty safe. I was really excited, and then I went into the theater and the yellow, etc. And very, very sad. But we have, like you said, a great theater family, and we have great people that want to support us, that are extended family in the community. I'm real excited that we have these folks to help us out. So.
Yeah, it was a very emotional day yesterday. Basically, as soon as we discovered it, it was just a nonstop. I think it was 5 or 6 hours of straight work with people coming in and out. So thank you to everyone who came to help. We do have a long road ahead of us as far as cleanup, so we'll be reaching out again. But in addition to that, I have a personal thank you to everyone who Venmo'd me last night to buy me a drink, because I ventured out to a public place for the first time. I went to the corner bar on the roof where we were the only people there. It was me, Katie, Casey, and then Linda and Stacy. So it was a nice little theater group. Nobody else was on the roof, and it was awesome. Weather was beautiful. Margaritas were great. So thanks to anyone who bought me a round of drinks. It was very needed. And also, we've been in this weird hiatus where we can't have any shows. So we've been trying to raise money in response to COVID, but now this new disaster has hit us. So we are really actively going to be asking our community for help. So we have started spreading links to donate to the theater. We're calling it our Please No More Rainy Days Fund. Please chip in to help us. And also Carrie Kemp and I are like full speed ahead working on a concert. So stay tuned. Yes, you three are invited. She's already been working on that. She's done. Yeah, it's happening. I'm excited.
So on that note, if it does strike you that you want to help us in a monetary way, the link will be down below to our donation page. And also like and subscribe. But it's more about trying to keep us alive right now. So thank you guys for all your support so far, and we look forward to any continued support that you can give. Thank you.
Rodney, can you talk about the video you posted?
Yeah, and and it shows like I was telling Mandy, I was like, the more work of a video that I put in, it seems like the less people watch it. I don't know what the problem
I watched it.
Well, thank you.
I watched it, and you said you tagged me, but you didn't. You just mentioned me.
I did tag you. I think what
Nobody
happens.
cares.
Oh yeah, I did mention you. It's because I could listen.
Nobody cares.
Listen. So making that video, first of all, I probably filmed like, I don't know. First I shaved, and then I put on the glitter, and then so it took forever to make the video in the first place. And then I was like, I got to get this down to like, I was hoping to put it on TikTok. I was like, I just can't cut to a minute. And the first time I did the movie in iMovie, and you can only speed it up twice the speed. And then, so I was like, well, I'll export it and then put it in iMovie again and double the speed again. And so anyway, so the gist of it is that I actually didn't ask Christy if I could do this, but she had done this earlier with reaching out for all of the people who were affected by COVID-19 just here in the Brazos Valley. If they're working as in the service industry, of course, it's been hugely impacted. Everybody was like furloughed or laid off or whatever. And so she just did this high five campaign. And so I was just like, I'm going to steal it. And so basically what the gist is that you give somebody a high five, you tag 5 people, and then they donate $5, and then they tag 5 people. And then those people donate $5, and it just kind of goes on. And usually $5 isn't that big of a deal for most people. So, and if you can, awesome. If you can't, also awesome. We would encourage you to spread it on even if you aren't in the situation where you can donate. But yeah, every little bit helps. And, Christy was able to raise all kinds of money for the local economy as well. And she got recognized by the Daniel Stark? Daniel Stark group. And she got a little extra bonus there too. So she's awesome. And so anytime I can steal an idea from that luminary, I will do so. So
speaking of TikTok, I'm going to reference something really quick before we move on. So there are the T, according to the TTC Teens, episode 2 is up on Instagram. They've officially challenged the dads and me to the Visco Girl Challenge, which, raise your hand if you know what a Visco Girl is.
I actually have heard of that.
I teach middle school, so
you get it. Well, I mean, I know, but like I still don't know. But it's hilarious. These guys are so funny. And I'm gonna put this on Rodney. Like, I think that you should do this as a representation of the Diva Dads.
Yes,
so
100%.
We're accepting their challenge on behalf of Rodney Bettis.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Okay, Rodney, you and I both have news.
Last week, one of the things that I didn't talk about for my week was how Mandy and I saved a little kitten. It was caught between 2 pickets of a fence on the neighbor's backyard fence. And so we named him Picket. He was actually hanging from his back leg, like his whole body weight was hanging from his back leg. And so anyway, we actually I took him immediately to the vet and checked him out. And they were like, yeah, I think, we might lose some feeling in that leg, but we'll just kind of watch and see. We took him back this week, and he is going to have to lose that leg. We're going to have it surgically amputated on Tuesday of next week. But he is such a little guy that he probably won't ever remember having all of his legs. So, and then hopefully he's man enough so that he can also be neutered while he's there. But I don't know. He's a little guy, so we'll see. But I wasn't the only one with pet issues. Adrian, tell me a little bit about your pet issues this week.
So this is Coco, which you guys have probably seen before. Coco spent 3 days in the hospital and spent a lot of our money. She scared the hell out of me last week. Got really, really sick. Really grateful I actually had a vet appointment set up for her Saturday morning. And then Friday night we were in a Zoom rehearsal and I could see her just continuing to get worse and worse and worse. My computer had a glitch and kicked me out of the rehearsal. And I thought, you know what? Thank you, universe. I'm going to go. And so instead of waiting for her vet appointment in the morning, I took her to the A&M vet school. And thank goodness I did, because at that point, her little body had gone into shock. And she wouldn't have made it if I didn't take her in right there. So she spent 3 days, got her little arm shaved off for her IV. And it was awful. It was awful. This is my child, given to me by my mother 9 years ago. And I do not know what I would have done without her, but she scared the hell out of me. But she's on 4 different medications and a prescription dog food for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, she gave me quite the scare this weekend, but she's doing great. She's loving on her cat, Annie. They're best friends. And she brought me her Frisbee and has been running around like literally nothing happened.
Awesome.
So
Nice.
thank
What
you.
did they say that she had?
Hemorrhagic gastroenteritis.
That sounds terrible.
It was awful. And according to Wikipedia and according to the vets that I've talked to, in small dogs, it typically will kill them in 24 hours. And that's where she was headed. If I hadn't taken her in, she would have been gone. I mean, she declined literally in a matter of hours. I actually took her to kids camp. Don't tell. And she sat in her little bed because I realized early on in the morning I couldn't leave her alone. So I took her little bed with me and she sat in the orchestra pit, and I've got a picture of her just sitting and watching the kids do their little performance. And then I had my brother pick her up and keep an eye on her. But yeah, the day went on and it just got worse and worse. And I thought, you know what? We gotta check on this right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're in the clear. But yeah, we spent 3 days stressing about that, had about a day to mentally recover, and then walked into the theater to see the sky was falling. So it's been great. And cheers.
Yeah. On that note, let's make a cocktail. So I don't have a video today, but this is a pretty simple drink, so it'll be fine. Now, how's my sound, Dana?
Your sound is good.
Okay.
Yes.
I know that I ran a little bit out of ideas, and I wanted to really avoid going to Specs, because going to Specs every week and spending lots of money, I can't do it all the time.
Yeah, so, I had to refill my kegerator. It gets pricey. Quite.
Yeah. So I asked Miss Adrian if I told her about my dilemma, and she was like, dude, just send me what's in your cabinet and I'll send you some ideas. And so what do you know? One of the first ones that she sends me is called a vodka paralyzer.
Yay!
And so I'm going to make a double. You'll notice that I started there with 2 ounces of vodka, and I'm going to put 2 ounces of coffee liqueur. I like Kahlua because it's delicious.
The best.
It's very good. And the interesting thing about this drink is that, so right there, if I were to stop the drink right there, that's a Black Russian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If I were to switch the ingredients that I'm going to put in next, it would move from a Black Russian to a White Russian and then to like a Colorado Bulldog. But for some reason, since I'm putting them in a different order, it's called a paralyzer. So the next thing that I put in on top is a little bit of Coca-Cola. Just rolled around in my FJ a little bit today. So I'm just going to kind of put a couple ounces of that in there.
You just had to mention that.
Oh, well, we can't all have FJs. All right. And then, what is this?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Dadgummit.
Oh, yeah. Little bit.
Responsibility for this.
Yeah, and it's totally Adrian's fault because she said it was like one of the first 2 things that she offered on my option. I was like, oh, I know which one I'm gonna do.
And when he pointed it out, I said, obviously I'm not thinking clearly because I inhaled too much mold and bleach while cleaning up the theater today. So
Yeah, well, if its and buts were
Candy and nuts.
on them. Candy and nuts, yeah. And then you garnish with a cherry, and you are done. So that is a so delicious. Look at that. Look at all of that milky goodness.
Oh,
okay, for anyone else who needs drink ideas, go to makemeacocktail.com. Literally, you fill out your bar with the ingredients that you have, and it tells you what you can make. So with the ingredients that Rodney has, there was like 30 different options of all these things that he could make. So
I did have lots of options. The funny thing is I sent that same request to Katie Mitchell, because there was a little challenge that was thrown down during Dads After Dark last week, and she was basically like, what kind of rye whiskey do you have? And I showed her, and she was like, yeah, just mix that with soda. And I was like, I like the way you think, but I can't really backtrack into simple drinks. I have to continue to evolve and move forward. So, but Katie Mitchell, next time, whenever we're together, we'll do the rye and soda.
I know we discussed her going drink for drink with Dana tonight, but low key, she is nursing a hangover from our corner bar.
Oh, is that right?
That's not surprising at all.
That's a shame.
So feel free to challenge her, but I don't know if she'll be able to keep up. She will be joining us for Dads After Dark.
Fantastic.
All right, let's move right into the next.
Well, real quick, because we're all topo people, my wife has started drinking peach vodka and topo like 50-50. And she's like, this is nectar from the gods. I took a swig today and I went, oh, yes. I mean, I got to stick with my Jameson for the show, but
what a wonderful world.
You know about the peach vodka and the topo. Oh my God.
Any vodka and topo.
Yes, 100%. Sorry.
Right.
all right, folks, it's time for the weekly correspondent on the street, Roger Pine. And tonight, he is breaking down Wicked.
Are you seriously putting Wicked on my list? I've heard of Wicked, of course. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it. Wicked plot summary is it's based on the Wizard of Oz characters, but it's like a prequel to the Wizard of Oz. It's one of those shows that has made the leap to become a tourist attraction and not just a show. I think like when you go to New York or London, let's go see Phantom of the Opera or Wicked. And I've never met anyone who really likes Wicked, but it just keeps chugging along because it's made the leap. It's a tourist attraction now. It's the Statue of Liberty. So probably never will see it. I don't know. Wicked.
Oh my God, really?
Did he tell us anything about the show?
Nothing.
No.
My goodness.
Not a
That's
thing.
crazy.
Okay, who's seen Wicked?
I haven't, and I'm dying to. I know a couple of the tunes, and they make me like all emotional, but that doesn't take a lot. And
All right.
I gotta see this, man. I'm dying.
Is Kristen Chenoweth still doing it?
No.
Then no. I'm out.
Wow.
Wasn't it Kristen Chenoweth and I always forget her name.
The wickedly talented
Adele Azim.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was
No.
Idina Menzel. What's her name? I can't say her name.
I love it.
Wasn't she in
Are
Wicked?
you being serious? Her
Yeah.
name is Idina Menzel.
That's what I
Idina
said.
Menzel. Yeah, but John Travolta introduced her at some award show.
The Tony.
And he-
No.
It
The
was-
Oscars.
It was the Oscars, yeah, and just butchered her name, like had no idea how to pronounce it.
But with such confidence.
Oh yeah, all
I
the John
remember that,
Travolta
yes.
swagger. Yeah.
All right, Mike, you saw Wicked.
Yeah, I've actually seen it on Broadway. Danielle and I that was one she'd been wanting to see. We bought second row tickets, and they were like $800 a piece. And during intermission, they're very adamant at this particular theater about you being entering back into intermission before, obviously, they do the last call or whatever. And she was still waiting in the bathroom, and I literally yelled across the theater. I was like, "Get over here! We spent $1,600 on these tickets." So anyway, that was our story of
Was it
intermission
worth
at
it?
Wicked. Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was great.
Okay.
Great.
That's
I thought
just
it was.
chump change for Daddy Mike.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
what?
right.
Oh, Lord.
Perfect. So speaking of Broadway, we are about to introduce our guest, which is theater company veteran Susan Keappock. So Susan Keappock has actually been working in New York on Broadway as a company manager for roughly 20 years. She's going to tell us all about her career and her journey with the theater company. But I want to mention one funny thing about her theater company career. She was in the 20-year ago production of Little Shop of Horrors. And, you know, Marcus's iconic line of like, oh, what a strange and unusual plant. Susan didn't say that line, but was arm in arm. She was the wife of the guy that got to say that line because they were the two tall people in the show. So Randy had them walk by to say that line together.
Awesome.
And I saw that version of it, and that I always think of that line of what a strange and interesting plant. That's what it is, interesting. When I think of Susan, because she had this show-stopping moment in Little Shop of Horrors, which we all just did. So without further ado, welcome Susan Keappock.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Hey.
Hello, y'all.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Awesome.
Nice to see you. Dana, you want to get us started?
Sure. So as most of you know, we send out and ask for questions from our people that follow us, and it's awesome because we get a lot of folks that might know you or some that don't, and we get to ask those kind of questions. And but we want to lead off with something where we want to know what your experience was in your brief time with TTC. How was all of that?
Well, you know, it's a funny story. I mean, I was when I went to A&M, I worked in Opus for all the years I was there, and I was there. This is gonna date me. It's fair. When the Bush School for Public Service just first opened, and they had hired us to. I mean, like hired us, like we weren't getting paid or anything, but volunteered our services to usher at a bunch of the lecture series they were doing over a summer semester. And I was there, and somebody that I was there, like we would usher, and then we would just like sit in the hall and like dance and sing and like do musical theater, and it was like you know, in the hallways until it was like time for us to be professional again. And somebody was like, "Oh, you should go audition for the theater company," and I was like, "That's ridiculous. Like I've never done that in my life. I have no interest in being an actor. I can't sing. I can't, you know, whatever." But like they planted like that little seed, and I was like, maybe I should go try that. Like I played oboe for, you know, 15 years of my life. I played flute, English horn. So I had a musical background, but like I had no interest in acting, no interest in anything besides. I just loved musical theater. So I remember that year, this show that I went to go see just to check it out was Grease. And I was like, well, I could maybe do that. And so the show I first auditioned with at the theater company was Little Shop of Horrors. And I went into audition, and I was just like, you know what, if I don't get it, if I don't get called back or whatever, I could just be, maybe they'll let me be in the pit and I could just play the flute and it'll be fine. And then I went to the audition, and they were like, everybody get up on stage and sing in front of all of these strangers. And I was like, absolutely not. That is not a thing that I'm going to do. But I don't know, it was just something, was just kind of just like, just stick it out. And then somebody, and I like literally had no idea. Like I thought that auditioning was just, you know, you put your sheet music in front of a pianist, like, and you're in a room with like I guess like center stage maybe is kind of like what I thought an audition was. and then they were like, well, you can sing along to a CD if you wanted, which was like for me huge, because like all I had in my car at that time were CDs of musicals. So I ran in, I got a CD, I sang, and then I like went home. I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this, and I like was just like, oh my God, I have to do this. Like I have to do this. And like I went back the next day. It was like a dance call back. I just not in a world did I ever dance in my whole life. I got cut instantly. And I was like, it's okay. I went back, and I can remember just being like in tears. That was like September, I want to say like September 9th, 2001. Maybe September 10th. The day that they posted the cast list was September 11th.
Wow.
And I had an 8 o'clock class. I can remember like I left because it happened while I was in class or on my way to class. I had no idea because like, we didn't really have like smartphones. We didn't have any of that stuff. And so I had an exam that day. So I went straight from my class to the library. And I had been listening to like a CD. So I had no understanding of what had happened until I got to lunch, and my friend whose mom worked for American Airlines was like distraught, and I was like, oh my god, you cannot be like this much of a mess every time there's a plane crash. Your mom is fine. And she's like, have you even seen the news? And I was like, what? No, of course not. So she like drags me over to a TV, and I'm just like, oh my god, it's September 11th happening right here. So I remember driving over, and I mean, it's the theater company's still in the same place, but it was a bit more run down, I guess you could say. And I remember sitting in this like parking lot with just kind of like potholes, and it was maybe it was raining, maybe I just have that in my head, and just thinking like, well, this day can't get much worse. Like, it's September 11th, and I guess maybe I'll get in this play or maybe I won't. But in my head at that time, I was like, these hold equal weight to me. And I saw I was cast, and just like as customer wife number 2 or whatever. And
with Blake Rogers.
Yes, with Blake Rogers. And it just was a moment that really just like changed my whole life. It was, it gave me this community, this home of misfits, I guess, not really misfits, but theater people are theater people. They're theater people in Texas, they're theater people in New York, they're theater people all around the world. When you meet those kind of people and your heart kind of meshes with theirs, it's the same no matter where you are. So I had been searching for that my whole time at college, and I found it like the very last semester I lived in College Station. But it changed my whole life. So I'm very thankful for that stranger in the Bush Library who was like, go do that.
So
awesome.
For the dads, before there was Facebook, Randy used to post the cast list on those glass doors.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
He would always tell you it would be up at such and such time, like 11 a.m. or noon.
Right.
But
yes. You had to drive. I had to drive over there and see.
You had to drive, or you had to count on someone else to drive there, because there's always this awkwardness of like, who's going first? Because you never wanted to run into anyone when you were checking the cast list, because everyone's, worried about parts. And Randy would always go up like 4 to 5 hours earlier, so he also didn't have to interact with anybody.
Nice. Well, I have a little bit of a follow-up. I don't think we talked about, what are you doing right now?
So, like very currently, I am on hiatus from, I'm the company manager of To Kill A Mockingbird, which is a job I took over in November, which is an amazing opportunity. I'm so thrilled to be working on this piece. It's completely brilliant. It's a big change for me. It's a new office to be, a management office to be in. It's a play, which I haven't worked on in very much in my career at all. It's with some pretty big celebrities. At the time that we kind of broke, which was on March 12th, I was working with Ed Harris, and we were about to go into rehearsal with Greg Kinnear, literally. So Broadway shut down on Thursday. Greg Kinnear and the new company were supposed to start rehearsals on Monday. So of course that kind of like, we were just like, we're just going to postpone it a week. So that obviously didn't happen. But so basically Broadway shut down. I was able to work for probably another 6 weeks after that, just kind of trying to, my job, I've been running the payroll. I'm in charge of basically the communication between the company and the producers. So I did a lot of that and just trying to pay whatever bills we could pay, and then trying to gather everything for the insurance settlement. And then we basically shut down on Easter, and it's like middle of April. And my sister and brother-in-law also live in Astoria, which is where I live now. And we kind of started talking about coming to Texas for the summer, because my sister has 3 kids, 6, 5, and 2, and being stuck in the middle of a pandemic with no parks open, no beaches, no summer camps. They live in they are thankful to be in a house, but they still don't have a lot of space, and not being able to see their friends just was going to be tough. So we Memorial Day weekend, we all piled in a minivan, the 6 of us and the dog, and drove 30 hours nonstop from New York to Arlington, Texas, where I am now, where my mom lives. She
Wow.
generously welcomed us in. And my brother, or my sister and brother-in-law and their family will probably be here through the summer. I got word today that my show is not coming back until mid-March. So I guess I'm just here. I don't know. I haven't really had time to let that sink in. For the meantime, I'm here in Texas.
And you didn't realize you were leaving what you thought was the epicenter of the pandemic and then coming to just like the next epicenter.
Yeah. Yes, it's I'm here in Arlington. This is where I grew up. This is my hometown. And then today I find that they finally canceled the 4th of July parade. And I was like, yeah, it took you, what is today, June 25th? Yes, there should be no 4th of July parade. There's literally, like, Tarrant County is like leading new COVID cases. And so it's a little frustrating to have been in a place where like New York shut down like so hardcore, and it's hard. New Yorkers are very resilient people. And so when they told us to shut down, we all shut down. But it's difficult. I live alone and you're just by yourself. And, I went to like Walgreens one day and there were like 3 other people in the store. And I was like, no. And now like I go to Costco with my mom and well, in Costco they have to wear a mask. But like we go to other stores and no one's wearing a mask and no one's taking it seriously. And it's just like, but I've seen what it can do. Like it's hard.
I don't know what it's going to take to get people to listen.
I feel like it's, like so many other things, I feel like it's just, if you haven't personally experienced like a loss or you don't know someone directly that it's affected, people don't have that kind of empathy. And I just, it's awful to say, but it's coming, so eventually people in Texas will know somebody who gets very seriously ill or, heaven forbid, passes away from COVID. And then they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's right. We should just like inconvenience ourselves for 30 seconds to wear a mask while we pick up our Starbucks. It's
not to make it too somber, but the first death in Bryan College Station was an extended member of the theater company family.
Oh my gosh.
And so like right away, it was really real for anyone, who knew this family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's frustrating to see that still hasn't quite like broken through.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been following the account, Amanda Klutz, her husband, Nick Cordero, who is both of them are longtime Broadway actors. He was most recently nominated for a Tony in Bullets Over Broadway. He's super healthy, 41. He moved to LA to do the LA Company of Rock of Ages, which they're doing back in a bar, like where it started, like a bar, probably not a dirty bar, it's probably a very lovely bar, but a bar interactive bar in LA. And he moved there to play Dennis and his wife, and they just had a baby who just turned 1. Oh. He's 41, super healthy, happened to catch it from who knows where, has been in the hospital now for 85 days. Oof. And I just I don't even know him, but I feel like that's like what I've just been latching onto, because he had no underlying conditions. He didn't have anything happening to him. And so he's, people I think here, it can only happen to old people, and it's just not true. So, wear a mask. That's all I'm saying.
And you can buy one from the theater company.
Yeah, exactly.
Theater company.
That's right. It's a fundraiser. It's supportive. So it's such an easy way to give support.
And we very desperately need it right now. I want to another follow-up question on your theater company career. So you mentioned you played the flute and oboe, but you did do that at the theater company in Cabaret, right?
I did play the flute at Cabaret. I was one of the and the orchestra, even the orchestra is lovely. And I can remember, this is how indoctrined in, I was not a theater kid. So I was not into playing these characters. Randy picked out a costume for me and I burst into tears because it was just he's Cabaret. It was probably just a bustier and half pants or whatever it was. And I was just I I can't do it. I can't do it. So finally, I'm sure it was probably Christy who came to my rescue and was like, what about this? And like, you can wear this. And so my only part in cabaret was like literally to just like walk across the stage, and like when they say even the orchestra is beautiful, and then I like went into the orchestra and then I played the flute for the rest of the performance.
Bravo.
But you know, it was fine. I played also in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I literally played the first weekend of performances, and then the second weekend of performances I moved to New York. So
Oh my
sorry.
But that's where you met Michelle.
That's where I met Michelle. That's right. And we became great friends. She came to New York to go to college, and I felt like, I mean, I was a little tiny baby, but she was an even tinier baby. So I was like, oh, don't worry, little baby. I've
Take
got
you under my wing.
I know so much about New York. I've lived here for 3 years. I know so much.
Rodney, you ready for the first question?
Yeah, I'm making another drink. Just I'm fine.
Yeah,
And Cynthia Bradford asked this question, and I'm glad she did, because she wants to know what's the most glamorous thing about being a company manager and the least glamorous thing. But you might have to help some of us, because Mike is other than Adrian, of course, Mike is the most theater veteran of the Diva Dads. Dana and I have a whole year under our belt.
A year
and so
and a half now.
Oh,
That half a year matters, though.
That half a year does matter.
That half
No.
a year has been in quarantine, so I don't know that it counts.
Well, I mean, you've had to start a podcast, so obviously you've had to learn
Yes, we did.
very quickly.
So you'll also have to explain a little bit about what a company manager is, and then say glamorous and least glamorous stuff.
Sure. So I will start from kind of way back. When I was working at the theater company, I had mentioned I was a member of Opus for a long time, and I graduated with a business degree. I should throw in there that my father passed away right between my sophomore and junior year of college over that summer. I feel like that changed a lot of the trajectory of what my path was going to be, because I took a very if not now, when sort of attitude about life. Like, my grades don't really matter. Like, I was a good student, but I was just kind of like, I want to be a better friend than a better student. Like, I want to be a better person than like make sure I have an A in macroeconomics or whatever. So
I can see why you were friends with Christy Petty.
Right? It worked out. And so, I had kind of had this imagination of like going into advertising. I was like going to do this stuff, and I just was like kind of after my dad died, I was just like, I just don't want to do that. Like, I'm happy to work hard. I have a great work ethic. I love to work, but like, I just didn't want to go and work and do something that I didn't care about just to make money. Like, that just wasn't an important thing to me. So I was just kind of like, I wonder if you can do like Opus as a job. Like, is that like a real thing? So again, going way back to the dark ages, I went to Barnes and Noble and looked in a book and was like, what is a job in theater? And at that point, it was the only thing that was mentioned was a stage manager. And I was like, well, that seems like kind of like up my alley, and maybe I could do this. So I kind of searched online and came up on like Playbill.com, which it still does, lists jobs in the theater all over the country. And I found an internship at Manhattan Theater Club, and I was like, I'm just going to apply. I'm just going to do it. And I had a business degree from A&M, and they were like, amazing. Like, you're just going to be one step down from our CFO. That's kind of what it felt like. They were like, you took an accounting class, you are in charge of accounting. And I was like, that was like accounting 101. Like, I don't, so I got an internship in the business office. I called my mom and was just like, guess I'm gonna move to New York like in 6 weeks. Cool. And she was like, what? All right, okay. My family was incredibly supportive. I couldn't have done it without them. So I got that job. I moved to New York, and I was miserable. I was like, this is the worst. I hate everything. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any friends. I met with the general manager of Manhattan Theater Club, who used to work at the Alley. And I was like, all right, we're from Texas. Like, we get this, right? And he was just like, stick it out. He's like, you cannot say that you hate New York in 6 weeks. That's just, you can't. So I was like, oh, fine. So like, I stuck it out, and I ended up getting a job at Blue Man Group, and I got an apartment, and then I was like, oh, now I'm kind of in it. And then I was able to kind of do some research, and I was just like, wait a second, what's this company management thing about? And so that was a long way to get to. So company management is you are the representative at the theater of the producers. So I work for the producers of, at this point, like To Kill a Mockingbird. But I or my associate are at the theater every night, and we are the people who settle the box office. We deal with all the money. We do the payroll. We pay the bills. We basically handle the day-to-day operations of what it takes to put on a Broadway show. We interact with the company. We make sure that they have everything that they need to be able to do their jobs. A lot of our actors on Mockingbird are from other places, so we deal with their apartments and their, like just whatever they need. There's definitely different levels of that through different shows. Like how I dealt with that on Chicago is very different than how I deal with that on Mockingbird. So it's kind of a job where you kind of just like chameleon into whatever you need to be. So it's kind of like an actor where you kind of have to fit into where you are. Where a company manager, you just kind of fit in, like just on a business end, less of a, character end.
Anything that falls, you catch.
Right, yeah. And we always joke that like whatever doesn't fall directly to a person falls to the company manager to like just handle. So,
no big deal.
It's like I've handled RSVP lists to parties, you handle physical therapy, you handle, car services for press events, you handle people's makeup if they're going to be on the Today Show, you deal with their makeup teams, you deal with their, and the more elevated the star is, you're dealing with like members of their team. So, as higher that you get in the hierarchy of fame, I guess, the more people I have to interact with. So that's basically what company management is in a nutshell. I really love it because I have a business background. I'm really interested in the business of theater. But I love that company management still allows me to be at the theater, to where I can see that like what I'm doing makes a difference, because it is a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of insurance claims, it's a lot of, state taxes. Like it's just it can get a little bit like monotonous, office job, but still every night I'm at the theater and the curtain goes up and I'm there and I'm like, oh, right, this is the end result of. So I guess to answer Cynthia's question, again, to make this even longer, like the glamorous parts of my job are pretty easy. Like being at the Tony Awards is amazing. I've done it too many times. It's the greatest. I feel like it's the night that they let you celebrate and be so thrilled that you're in theater, that it's supposed to boost you again through the next 364 days until it happens again. It's such an amazing night. You get to see all your friends. Everyone's in their costumes. It's so much fun. You're just so amped up, and you're just like, God, I love what I do, and everything is great. And you're just like, yes, I can use this to get. And then it's like the next day, you're just like, oh, another workers' comp claim. All right. Okay.
The unglamorous part.
Yeah, so like the unglamorous part is like, I spent a lot of time editing contracts. I spent a lot of time, talking to insurance agents, a lot less time on a play than on musicals. But when I was on Chicago and Wicked, all the time I'm like, oh, that person hurt their back when they were like a monkey wing, whatever they were, and Wicked had their own insurance people, so like I could just say they're playing the monkey, like, and they'd be like, yes, we know, all right, that's fine. Like making doctor's appointments for people and like that part is kind of a little bit less glamorous, but it's all part of the same. It's you are there to support. Like basically the way I feel about my job is that I don't want anyone at the theater, because I basically kind of feel like my job is everything from the backstage beyond, right? And the stage managers, I feel, take everything from the front of stage. That's their domain. From the stage to backstage is the stage managers. I wouldn't even know how to question my stage managers. That's their job. And from the front of the stage to the back of the house, that's my house manager's job. And we all three work together to make sure that we have you know, a happy, hospitable workplace. But like, I don't try to step on their toes. Like, I don't know the stage manager's job. But I just kind of feel like my job is to make sure that nobody that is working backstage has any barriers that I can fix to doing their job.
That's cool.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, it makes it's interesting to me because I've never really, you know, my only exposure is the theater company. So, you know, Adrian and the board, they do like everything. So
Yeah.
and then, you know, like the thing about producers, we have producers on every show, but my exposure of what producers do is they buy snacks. But you know, other than that, I don't really know what a producer does, but it sounds like the producer is like the one who fronts all the money, and they're like the, you know, like they're the company of they're the ones who, they're the boss, I guess. And so if you're you know, so that's kind of cool. I learned something today. I was today years old whenever I learned about how things work. So thank you.
So question, Rodney, Dennett, you guys didn't meet the company manager in Mamma Mia? And you didn't get trailer access? I mean, I must be blessed or something.
Dana.
Yeah, so you were talking about Michelle Campbell Green earlier.
Mhm.
She was on the show last week. We had a great time. She wants to know, what is your favorite Tony memory?
Oh, okay. So I have been I know it's like one of those things where it's like you've become a jaded New Yorker where you're just like, oh, the Tonys, like it's just so much work. Which it is. It's a ton of work. But I will say, so I was lucky enough to work on Once, which was a great time of my life, and the Glenn Weiss, and who's the producer of the Tonys, they loved Once. And so they invited us, so we had won the Tony in 2012, and they invited us back in 2013 to open the Tonys, and then we performed again right before they announced the Tony winner for that year, which was Kinky Boots. And it was one of those things where, like, you know, the thing is like, it's theater magic, right? It's in every level of theater. Nobody wants to know how hard you worked. They just want to see the end result and it be wonderful. So like, nobody cares that you got up at 5 o'clock that morning to get to the theater, to be in full costume, to get on a bus, to sit on a bus, to go to Radio City, to sit at Radio City, to wait on the bus, to like be shipped into like a hallway, to sit like on a staircase, like try to keep your instruments tuned because it's 17 degrees in the hallway or whatever. And then like they finally shuttle you through to the stage. You just kind of like line up, and then all of a sudden you're on stage, and then you're shuttled back into the hallway, and then back onto a bus, and then like, depending on how much time you have, either you get shuttled back to your theater or you stay on the bus to just wait. So when you're nominated for a show, all of that just kind of disappears. You're so excited, you have so much adrenaline, everything is, oh, whatever, this is great, I'll stay on this bus forever. So, but that year, we had already won, we were just working. Because in the middle of all of that, you also do a matinee. So like, you're doing all the work, you do a 5-hour dress rehearsal in the morning in costume, you bus everyone back, we give them lunch, then they do a matinee, then we maybe let them take a 15-minute nap, we feed them again, then we bus them all back to Radio City. So I can say that we were all a little punchy, not a lot of sleep. And my company of Once, who I love so much to this day, they had gotten like lyrics that they were supposed to sing and like choreography, and it was just so out of character for Once. It just, you know, we did not have choreography, we had movement direction, and they were just like, I don't know how we do this. So we get to the rehearsal, and everybody's just like, this is gonna be ridiculous. So hopefully some of your younger viewers can Google or YouTube. Oh my God, I just said both of those like I'm 1,000 years old. But the 2013 Tony Awards opening number, which was Bigger, that Neil Patrick Harris did. And it was like, let's make it bigger. I stood at the back of the house the first time that they went through that in the dress rehearsal and burst into tears. Because basically they had made us do the Tony Awards, like Cirque du Soleil booked out Radio City for like 2 summers, and so then we had to do the Tony Awards at the Beacon, which is incredibly small. And like there's like literally there's no space, like there's no space at Radio City, which is this magic like gigantic place. There's no space at Radio City. We were basically like in a tent on the street like waiting to go in. So when they came back to Radio City, it was like this big thing. So Neil Patrick Harris does this like number, and my cast was a part of like the very beginning of it, and then they came in at the very end. And it's like every show, it's like Lion King, you know, Mamma Mia, like whatever. Everything's coming down. The Newsies are coming down the aisles. Chicago's coming down. You know, they've got Spider-Man was still there. They're all just like coming out of the wings, like the Cinderellas and all the dresses. And I was just like sobbing, like in the back of the house, like this is so incredible. Like this is like everything that you dream of even if you don't even work in theater, just like if you love theater, like this was all that you wanted to do. Like this is all you want. It's like every show that you've ever seen, just like all of a sudden like on stage, like Phantom and like Les Mis is like, oh, you know, and that was probably the most like amazing thing I'd ever seen. So that's definitely my favorite Tony moment. I mean, it is a close, it's not really close, but my second favorite moment is definitely when I was there for Rock of Ages, which was my first Tony Awards.
I was about to ask you about that.
Which was just like an insane thing. Like they were like, okay, we could rehearse at 1 a.m. because that's when Poison can be there. And we were like, sure, that's like a thing that happens on the Tony
That's
Awards.
crazy.
I've been very fortunate. I've had a lot of really awesome Tony moments. And it becomes like Broadway summer camp, just because you're all called there at different times over the course of like 4 days, and then you get to the dress rehearsal and everyone's like in their little sections, but they're all in their costumes and everybody is just like seeing each other. They're all saying hi and you're all just like, it's the Tonys. So those are
That's
my
amazing.
2 favorite moments. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty cool feeling.
Yeah. One day,
So
Mike.
cool.
One day.
So cool.
Okay, Susan. Now, I'm pretty sure I can already answer this question for you, but I guess I'll ask it anyway. Tell us about your favorite character and line of dialogue from Rock of Ages.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's not you, Mike. Not you.
Not you, Mike.
So, you know, the funny thing, so I worked on Rock of Ages from the beginning of Off-Broadway until they moved to the Helen Hayes. So that was about, I don't know, 2 years maybe-ish, a year and a half. And then, you know, they hired a different GM office, so we kind of all were let go. And then they had the final performance, whenever that was, I don't know, whatever year that was. So we bought tickets and we went back. And it was so much fun because we all got to say out loud like our favorite moments, because it was just a house full of people who had loved Rock of Ages. And to this day, my favorite line is Sherry, your mom's on the phone, waitress number 1. Because Savannah Wise, her husband is now my financial advisor. Maybe that's because I love that line so much. I just love how she delivered that line, and I just felt like nobody ever lived up to the way she did. Like the disdain when she was like wiping down the counter and the phone rings, and it's like, oh, Sherry, your mom's on the phone. Like, hey, it's still to this day like one of my very favorite things. I mean, the thing is that show's got a lot of really clever lines. It's a funny show.
And I'll tell you, so Michelle Campbell-Green obviously directed our production of Rock of Ages. And when we got to that scene, Michelle put a lot of pressure on Maddie Sikola, who played our racist run. She's like, I need you to know that my friend Susan, who was the company manager of Rock of Ages, this is her favorite line. Don't mess it up. And she was amazing. And also
she was fantastic. She was fantastic.
It's just ridiculous. So good. Yeah, we hope that you were proud of her.
I did that whole scene, just it makes me smile. Like, you know, like Sherry's on the phone and like, you know, I'm the one who won, and like the choreography to that, like on the stairs, like I can't, like it still makes me smile to this day.
Hilarious.
So Michelle has another question for you. Are there any
She's-
similar? What?
She's really intense.
Man,
She knows. She knows.
I learned very quickly. She wants to know if there's any similarities between community and commercial theater.
You know what I would say is yes. I would say in commercial theater, what you have is more money and more people, but it's not really that different. In community theater, everyone is still working to put up like the end of the day, you have a showtime and an opening night, and that's your goal. So even though on Broadway, there's 14 different unions that dictate when you can work and what you can do and this and this and this. Community theater may not have those restrictions, but you're still like, you've got to get your scenery painted, you've got to get your wardrobe set, you've got to get your band rehearsed, you have to make sure you have a front of house staff, you need to make sure tickets are on sale and are they the pricing and all this stuff. And then not to mention, like, are your actors ready, your directors, and your lighting design, your sound design. And so it's really not that, it's just a smaller scale of the same thing. And I think that's what's the great thing about theater. And I think, it's hard. It's hard for me to have read an email today that says I'm not going back to work for like a full year. But I don't think that theater goes away. That experience of not only people who work in the theater, who I think are a special breed of people who just love what they do, whether it's a community theater or a volunteer or a regional theater or a tour or Broadway or off Broadway, off Broadway, it doesn't matter. Like, the people who are doing it because they love it. You're not going to find a lot of people who work in theater because like it just like happened to them. Because listen, you work in theater, you have a lot of marketable skills. You can be working anywhere. You can be making a lot more money. So, if you're working in theater, you're there because you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. And like, I have a lot of people who come and shadow me and intern with me, at work. And I just say to them, like, if you could imagine yourself doing anything else, do it, because like, there's no room for people who are in theater who don't want to do it. And so I kind of feel that, no matter what level of theater you're talking about, it's all the same commitment level. It's just a variance of maybe location or of budget, but at the same time, the same support and feeling of community and sense of just like, we got to all buckle down and get the show open that I felt in College Station or in Bryan is the same thing I feel in New York. It's just that like, we just have a lot more money just because of where we are. And so, that's just kind of how I feel. I don't think there's a lot of difference in the people, which is, I think, what really makes theater work.
Well, you mentioned the different areas of the theater. Your stage manager's in charge of this spot, your house manager's in charge of this, you've got everything else. I think the difference is, like you talked about, in community theater or non-professional theater, it's kind of like everyone has to do everything because all the same stuff has to get done, just like you said, but it's more of a scramble to just everyone help each other. And like, the theater company is a perfect example of that, specifically over the last couple of days. When we discovered there was, our roof was leaking, we said help, and our board president was there, and board members and costumers and cast members, everyone is there picking up ceiling tiles and shuffling costumes, because that's what it takes. It takes every single hand to make anything happen.
Yeah, and unless you think that is a thing specific to the theater company, I literally worked on once, which is, we won 8 Tony Awards once, the musical, just so we know, on Broadway. My box office literally had 4 buckets in the box office because the ceiling leaked so much at the Jacobs that, like, I was like, so this is Broadway, right? Like, it's not that, it's like, I don't want to ruin the magic of Broadway, but like, it's not that different from any other theater. Like, it's literally like, I was just like, what is this? What's happening? And the box office is like, oh, we just walk around that. Like, okay, like, but we shouldn't be, like, this is Broadway, like the ceiling shouldn't be leaking, but that happens in like literally every theater I've ever worked in.
That's good to know. We're gonna make it, you guys. We're gonna make it.
It's gonna
Good.
be. It's just like everything. It's just like every other. It's like every other building.
So our next question is from Nicole Gordon-Hanks, which is one of our theater company actresses. She wants to know about your theater journey and the people and things that help to inspire you and kind of keep you moving forward. And I want to tack on to that because I don't think the dads know about this, but you know, you had not only created this incredible career on Broadway and like lived in Manhattan for 20 years, but you had a really big thing happen to you a while back, a brain tumor.
Oh, I did. Yes, I did. Surprise.
Talk about like what the people and the things that helped you kind of move forward, not just in your career, but also getting, you know, surviving brain cancer.
Sure. Well, it wasn't cancer. It was benign. So just a starter there.
Yes.
I mean, I will have to say, you know, when I went to audition for my first show, I honestly, like, I had no idea what I was doing. I just kind of felt like I took a nap that day and was like, if I wake up in time to make this audition, it means like my dad, who literally had passed away like a year earlier, maybe. I was like, that means he wants me to do this. So I woke up in time and like I went, and then I was there. I didn't know anybody. And I was just like, how I can't, like, this is like, so I'm such an introvert. I have no interest in like, blah, you know, like this. Which, you know, the theater, what? But I just felt that desire to be a part of it. And I'm so thankful to like Blake, who was in the back of the house studying accounting with me. Like Rogers, like we were the two people like studying our business, you know, classes in the back, like, what are we doing here? Like, who knows, you know, whatever. And I'm so thankful to Christy Petty. She maybe goes by a new last name now, but I'm sorry.
She doesn't.
She doesn't. Okay. So I'm so thankful to her because she really saw kind of what was like under my surface and was just, like, forced it to come out. And to everyone that was involved in that time, like, they just kind of made this person that was kind of like, just wanting to come out, you know. And I'm so thankful to them for making that happen. And so they definitely helped me start my journey to make me even feel like I had any confidence to do anything in New York. Like I didn't grow up thinking like, I want to go to New York, I want to work on Broadway. Like I had no desire to do that at all. And I just all of a sudden was like, and I was just like, that's what I want to do. And, you know, along the way, I just happened to have really great people who just kept inspiring me to. My mom was just like, I'll help you pay your rent your first 3 months in New York, which is a huge thing. And that just kind of helped me, you know, not quit what I was doing. And I just was really focused on the goal. I did find out in 2017 that I had a 6 centimeter benign meningioma tumor in my brain. That was a total surprise to me. I was working in Chicago at the time. I went to get the MRI, and then my neurologist sent me straight to the brain surgeon, and the brain surgeon was like, this is the Friday, was like, I have to take that out on Thursday. Oof. And I had to go back to work and say to my boss, like,
what show were you working on?
I was on Chicago, and I had to go to my boss and just be like, I have to leave on Tuesday. This is my last day, and I don't know what's happening. And you know, thankfully they were very understanding. They got someone in. You know, he said to me, it's gonna take a lot more than a brain tumor to bring down Chicago, which is true. And I'm thankful to be in a union, which provided me with amazing insurance, so that I didn't end up of my $75,000 bill, only paid $1,100 of that. And you know, I came back. I was very thankful. I was very lucky to come back. I really, apart from like a sore head every once in a while, I feel fine. But you know, I've met, you know, to be a company manager, you are in a union, like I just mentioned, and you have to take an exam, and you have to study with all these people, and I'm thankful to have in my class where we all took the exam together, some great friends and colleagues, and for them I'm eternally thankful. Like, they helped pick up the slack and they helped me answer questions, and when I was just feeling like I couldn't do anymore, they helped pick up the pieces. And
Did you think
so
that did you think that you weren't going to go back to Broadway after this happened to you?
I really didn't. I had so little time to absorb what was happening. Basically, I was diagnosed with the tumor. I was in surgery within a week, so I really didn't have any time. Some of the people I'm most thankful to are the local bar by my theater, which I got to pour a little out for the E&E Grill because they're closed now. But my wonderful bartender friend and some of my colleague who was on waitress threw a great party for me the Tuesday before my surgery. It was on Thursday, and I just tried to focus on the positive. Like, I had a support system, I had insurance, I had a job that just was like, come back whenever, like, it's fine. So I took 6 weeks off, and then I came back, and just
amazing.
kept going.
That's amazing.
I try to use it still, like when I don't want to do something, I'm like, oh, my brain tumor. It doesn't work so much. It's been almost 3 years, so it doesn't work as well anymore. Especially doesn't work in my new office because they don't know the stories.
What are you talking about, brain tumor?
Yeah, they're like, anyway, that was so long ago.
I thought when you said neighborhood bar, I thought you were going to mention Vintage, the martini bar.
Well, Vintage closed.
I know.
Vintage also closed, so it's been a hard time for bars in Hell's Kitchen. It's
I know you saw the question from Beth Aiken, who is one of our stage managers. She's actually the tech person at Bryan for Bryan ISD. But she asked about Hunter and Jeff. So the dads don't know. I don't think you guys might know about the show at all, but Susan was a company manager for Title of Show, which is hilarious. It's this beautiful 4-person show written by 2 of the guys in it, Jeff and Hunter. And I was really lucky enough that Susan got me in to see it when I was there one time. I think I missed my college graduation for that New York trip. Me and my Auntie Mame, we got to see Title of Show with the original cast. But specifically, I know she already asked for their numbers.
Right, she did, yes.
Michelle wants to know, because this is a line in the show, she says,
right.
In 10 years from now, when you play the cast album, this track on the CD, it reminds you why you want to be, because the song is 9 people's favorite things. I'd rather be 9 people's favorite thing than 100 people's 9th favorite thing.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll ever be so lucky to have worked for a show. That was my first job as a company manager, and they were so so flexible, so forgiving. I had no idea what I was doing. And I still, when I see them, when I run into them in events today, I'm still just as grateful as I was, back in, what was that, 2006? I was 27.
I was 2006 when I saw it. So.
Yeah. It's just a special show to me. They had their chance to be on Broadway. They had their chance to kind of do all this other stuff, but what they were doing at the Vineyard and just what they did in general, whether it was produced or not, is so awesome. And when I listen to that CD, I still get a little verklempt, it's like that they recorded that my first day of work, and it's just it speaks to kind of what theater is all about. I don't know. It's just you're working so hard and you're doing all this stuff, and it's do you care about being the number one thing on people's list, or do you care about just the people who are there to love what you've done? And that's what theater's about. Who cares if you're number one? It's you are doing your art for the people that it affects. That's the end of it.
I think one of my favorite songs in that show is Two Nobodies in New York. it's these two guys thinking like we're nobody, but like we have something to say. Okay, how do we say it? And then how do we get people to listen to it? And it's just hilarious. But I want to mention one thing before we kind of wrap up the interview portion. So how Dana has seen you before is you were a part of the documentary that James and Cynthia did, the BCS to Broadway and Back, the Randy Wilson story.
I've seen it too.
Good job, Rodney. But do you want to tell us a little bit about like your participation in the documentary and just like what you remember about Randy?
Oh, well, I mean, he wrote my recommendation for my first job in New York. Like, that's like all I even need to say about him. Like, he gave me the career that I'm so thankful to enjoy now. And I'm so fortunate to have been able to cross paths with him, even for the very short amount of time that I was there. I'm so thankful that he saw in me something that I saw, like beyond what I saw for myself. And I was delighted to be asked to be a part of that documentary. I loved spending time with James and Cynthia. I was interviewed like in the like literally like in the middle of Times Square. I liked getting to know the people, Katie, and although there was another guy there that
Cameron, I think you
Cameron. It was Cameron. Yeah. I was like, he was on the call last night, and I forgot his name. I'm sorry, Cameron. Yeah, you were there. I was so thankful to like know that other people existed and were there pursuing their dreams, also because of him. And you know, like when I was going to school at A&M, the liberal arts was not like a thing. I don't know. You know, it's been almost 20 years since I've been there, but. You know, I saw that they got a new band hall, so I'm pretty psyched about that. They have a music department now, which makes me excited. But it was, you know, I was definitely not going to school for pursuing anything musical or theatrical. And, you know, I can honestly say that without that moment in my life, I would be working probably in Dallas for an accounting firm or like whatever, doing something completely lame. Accountants are important, they're not lame, I'm sorry, but like
ponies are way cooler.
Way cooler.
But you know, like he changed the trajectory. Like he and the theater company and the people that I met during that time in my life changed my whole life. And I love what I do. I'm so thankful to be in New York. I know that we're going through a tough time right now, but I know it's going to be back. I'm so proud of the work that I've done. You know, the shows I've worked on. I'm proud to be a part of To Kill A Mockingbird, even though I wasn't part of creating any of that. I just got to kind of join on and ride that wave. But none of that would have been possible without Randy and the vision that he saw for me. And it's very humbling to kind of, you know, when you're in your early 20s to think that someone can see that in you, you know, like you can't see that when you're in your 20s, but I'm 41. So I can look back and be like, it's amazing that somebody saw that in me, like this very shy, introverted person who like did like 5 shows and then like disappeared. For him to have kind of, for me, it felt like he pinpointed me and was like, you can do this. And this is a career that you can handle. I feel super fortunate. I can't imagine my life without it.
That's so cool. This has been, you know, every episode that we're part of, I'm like, we're not gonna top this episode, and then we do, and it's awesome. So thank you so much, Susan, for
it's a joy.
Building our questions. We do have more questions, but we're gonna save them for Dads After Dark.
It's fair.
So we're glad that you're gonna stay with us for a little bit.
Around.
Because a lot of the people who are asking these questions will probably be there, so they'll want to hear it directly from you. So thank you so much for being part of Dads.
Thank you for asking me.
Diva
This
Dads.
was so much fun. Thank you for being my first podcast ever. This was an amazing experience.
Well, stick around.
I can drink, so it's great.
Yeah, it's the best kind of interview, right? So we've got TTC Photo of the Week.
Photo of the week, I'm slacking. So as you all know, every week we pull up TTC's homepage, as you see now, and we scroll down to the bottom and see what the photo of the day, photo of the week. Oh, Kiss Me Kate.
Oh
my goodness.
That's the song I auditioned with. My very first audition.
Wow.
At the company, Kiss Me
Which
Kate.
song, Susan? Which song?
I did Why Can't You Behave?
Perfect.
And I literally started and I was like this.
Oh my goodness. And
Randy was like, hey, you want to sing a little louder? And I was like, sure. After all the time. And then like someone from the back, it was like Christy or whoever was just like, oh, we love you. And I was like, oh my God, they love me. And I was like, after all the time I've been through, you know, theater people.
It's always a supportive crowd.
Yeah.
Most of the time. This was a show that Randy directed. This is Zach Reeves, who played Jesus in the most recent production we did of Jesus Christ Superstar, and Dana and Rodney and Mike. So the lovely Kate Mitchell, who you now are all best friends with, this is her beautiful sister, Rachel. That's her sister, Rachel, on the
table.
Look at these reactions, though. The people in the doorway, they are giving it.
This is Amanda Marie Parker with this like reaction face. She's a Sam Houston graduate who currently lives in Houston and like does dance and burlesque. Like she's doing great things. But what a memory of all things to pop up from this show. But this was a really great show. This was actually, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm going to say his name on another episode, but this was Paul Early's first show.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
you can't escape the Paul Early, can you?
I can't.
Pumping up the ego, like just the bicycle pump of his ego.
No, it's not an ego. He gets scared every time I tell him. We mentioned this in the episode. I'm constantly yelling at him. So I'm sorry, Paul, but yeah. But this was an incredible show. Rachel and Zach were amazing together. James Cho was in the show with me. I got to play Bianca, and that I got to sing that song.
Bianca.
Oh my God. Okay, I have to tell the quick story. So Blake Rogers was one of the first people that I also got to know at the theater company. He was in my first show, Wizard of Oz. And a few shows in, he and I were like picking out audition songs together. And he said, do you know Kiss Me Kate? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I know Kiss Me Kate. And he told me that Always True to You, you know, in my darling, in my fashion, he's like, that's the song. You got to sing that song. And I didn't use it as an audition, but then later when several years later, when Randy cast me in that show, I remember telling Blake, like, hey, I get to sing that song that you told me about all these years ago.
Oh, it's a good song.
Awesome.
That's what theater is all about. Full circle.
And he's also an accountant in Dallas, so he's living the life that like you all.
That's right. I one time ran into him literally in Schubert Alley, which is the most Broadway thing you could ever have. I was going back from work and he was going to a show, and I ran into him and was like, I know you. Schubert Alley, where dreams happen.
Okay, Rodney, Jennifer's come back.
Oh, is that next? All right. So Jennifer Reiley is here, our correspondent for Fun Facts of the Week, is here for another Fun Fact of the Week. So take it away, Dana.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hi, Diva Dads. It's your correspondent, Jennifer Reiley here with the Fun Fact of the Week. So this week's fact is about the origin of bubble wrap, which was actually not meant to be a packing material, according to the inventors. So bubble wrap was invented in 1957, and the way that the inventors came up with it is that they took two shower curtains and sealed them together. And when they did, it captured air bubbles inside of the shower curtains. But according to their marketing strategy, they wanted to use it as wallpaper. I know, kind of a good idea. Please don't put wallpaper out of bubble wrap on your walls. I think that would only be fun for a very short amount of time. Well, evidently that marketing plan failed, and then they figured out it could be used as a wrapping material for packages. And that is this week's fun fact. I am very excited for this week's episode, and I look forward to speaking with y'all soon. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
Susan,
Oh my gosh.
Jennifer was one of our stage managers for Rock of Ages. I'm going to steamroll Dana again. Jennifer was one of our stage managers for Rock of Ages. So
It's a tough job. It's a tough job.
Did she say what year that was? Because if you were thinking about putting it on the walls, it had to be like the 60s or something. I'm thinking
is what she said.
What time?
57.
57. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Could you imagine that on your walls right now?
yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Mhm.
Oh, there wouldn't be any bubbles left.
Just be like,
I'd be much.
It's like rolling against.
And
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool.
awesome.
All right, Mike.
All right, guys, I'm going to take us home tonight. First of all, I want to remind you, please, if you can, check out our Facebook page, TTC Diva Dads on Facebook, and there will be a link with our fundraisers, how you can support us through this time of not producing shows, quality musicals, and then also with our recent damage to theater. Please make sure you can. If you can spare $1 or $2, we would absolutely love it and super appreciative. Second of all, thank you again, Susan. So amazing.
Thank
We
you
really
very much.
appreciate that. And then finally, I want to remind you, please visit www.ttcdivadads.com, where you can connect with us through social medias the way you choose to do so. And on that note, folks, make sure you catch us with Dads After Dark. We want to thank you for tuning in.
Every time, man.
Goodbye,
Bye.
folks.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.